Welcome to Protect and Grow with Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns of TJ Stearns Incorporated. Trust, respect, and results. TJ Stearns Incorporated focuses on comprehensive financial planning and benefits.
And welcome into the program. This is Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns, CFP, your resource, ladies and gentlemen, for common sense approach to financial investment and retirement planning. Always a pleasure, Tim. You always bring along some important information. Not an easy job, a lot going on in the financial world.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're seeing banks that are failing. That is kind of turned the market upside down. We were having a good couple months, right? And now we're looking at the fact that the market is basically almost given back everything it's made. So I, again, implore people to take a look at what they actually are owning. What's in their portfolio is baked in there. You know, you're going to see a lot of volatility if you have stocks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got questions about your investments, your positions, your portfolio, your accounts, pick up the phone, give Tim Stearns, CFP, a call. He is your resource, Chicagoland. Office in Arlington Heights. You can find him online at tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Easy to connect. Just hit the connect with us button there, or give a call for that complimentary Protect and Grow, the written plan for your financial future. 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, or tjstearns.com. Tim does offer that complimentary Protect and Grow plan for the first 10 callers with at least $500,000 saved or invested for your financial future. You deserve to protect and grow your wealth, and Tim will put the plan together to help you achieve and accomplish just that. 800-640-2256. Tim, with everything that's going on in the market, the volatility that we are seeing resurging here, I bet you're hearing from a lot of risk-adverse investors, people who just don't want to take that roller coaster ride any longer and maybe want to find some alternatives to losing money in a volatile, unpredictable market.
Well, let's take that a step further, though, Peter. Even people who aren't risk-averse became risk-averse last year. You know, think about it. If you're a baby boomer and you're kind of winding down your career and you thought you had a full head of steam, right, with the 13-year bull market. I mean, everyone thought they were Warren Buffett until the beginning of last year of 2022, realized that, wow, things come home to roost. When the Fed is pumping money into the market to prop it up and takes away all that fuel, the market slides back, right? And so we're seeing that people are even, they weren't risk averse. They are now. They're giving us a lot of phone calls. We're getting a lot of people attending our classes, which, again, give us a call. We'll be happy to tell you where the classes are in your neighborhood. And if they're not, you can Zoom them. We've had many different people from Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin. They are all, attending via Zooms. So that's a great thing. But yes, we're getting a lot of phone calls from risk averse and people who are scared of what happened after realizing, wow, I did own too much in stocks.
Yeah, 2022 was bad enough, right? We all took that ride and weathered the storm and sort of made it through, kind of limping to the finish line there. But Tim, looking at the year ahead and what we've seen so far in 2023, it doesn't look like, we're getting back to sunshine and rainbows here or rosy pictures. We really have got to get realistic about the potential for continued volatility in the market.
Yeah, we're teaching classes throughout the United States, right? And every consumer, every investor, whatever you want to call us, that are in the classes are all very worried about this year. No one is saying, oh, it's going to be, unicorns and rainbows, right? They're all saying it's going to be a difficult, market. That being said, the worst time I think in the world right now is the buy and hold. You know that the market's going to be volatile. You need to be smarter about that. The last 22 years has told us the market's going to be an up and down yo-yo. We need to try to sell at the highs and try to get out, before the lows. And I think if you're doing a buy and hold at baby boomer age, that's a difficult road to be on. When you were in accumulation, when you were younger, you're buying low, you're dollar cost averaging. When you're buying low, you're buying high, it doesn't matter. But when you get done with your career, it's what you have in your 401k. And we see a lot of people coming in class who are great accumulators, but they don't know how to decumulate. And so one of the first things that I want to talk about today is, some 5 planning mistakes to avoid for your financial security throughout retirement. And the number one would be not having a grip on your retirement. I don't see a lot of people coming to class or coming in here from the radio show saying, I have a grip on it. They might have a spreadsheet, but they haven't included some things that need to be in there. They haven't thought about the cost of Medicare. They don't even know what IRMA is, the Medicare surcharge, that if you make too much money in retirement. So there again, I'm going to hit people over the head with this, but you need to have a plan. You need to have an income allocation plan. So get a grip on your retirement. That's number one thing that I would be doing if I am getting ready to retire, or even if I'm early retired into that, get a grip on it.
Yeah. What's your guaranteed retirement income plan? Where are those sources of income coming from that do not fluctuate in the market, such as Social Security, such as pensions? Have you maximized those particular sources? Have you looked at how much you're going to have to supplement with personal assets and investments and made sure that those assets and investments will not fluctuate in the amount of income that they can generate for you? That's that grip on retirement. So important. And Tim, as we look at where we are, where we've come, it was kind of a predictable self-inflicted pain and a vicious cycle here where we went through some economic trouble. The Fed pumped a bunch of money out. They created it out of thin air, essentially. And then, surprise, surprise, there was inflation that resulted. And you had talked about the fact that that was coming for a number of years here on the show. And as a result of the inflation, then they have to begin raising interest rates. And as they were having those discussions, you had talked about how that was going to cause pain in the markets. And this is what we have seen. So next step in that kind of predictable cycle, I know we talked about risk adverse investors. I know you're also dealing with tax adverse investors, and now might be a very important time to address that, because the next step in this predictable cycle is taxes are probably going to go up.
Yeah, we talk about that in class all the time, is that income taxes have not been this low since the 1920s. Okay. So this is an opportune time that if you're looking to do maybe a Roth conversion, or at least exploring that idea. If your advisor hasn't done that with you, then shame on them. Give us a call and we'll help you take a look at what that bill is going to be. We have some great reports that can show people, hey, if you convert now, you won't be paying this much in taxes down the road. The one thing I can tell people with certainty is we know what taxes are today. We know what they are through 2025. So 2023, 2024, and 2025 are great times to maybe do some Roth conversions. And with us having a CPA on staff here, that's a strategy that we can go through with them. And I would implore them to give us a call.
And again, if you would like this report of the 5 planning mistakes to avoid, or if you would like to crunch those numbers and get the report specifically on your tax liability and the proactive strategies to manage that, pick up the phone, give TJ Stearns and certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns, CFP, a call, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. You can meet with him virtually or right there in person in the office in Arlington Heights, or attend one of the upcoming classes to learn a little bit more. But Tim, it is number 3 on your list. I know I'm skipping ahead, but the gross planning mistake, that is number 3 of the 5 planning mistakes to avoid. A lot of people forgetting to factor in taxes pretty much altogether on what they're going to mean and how much they will impact retirement.
Well, for example, we have a slide in our presentation in class. We show, a person named Bill. He's got $1 million, and I'll say he has $1 million in his 401k. Is that all his money? And people react with probably not, because if it's his 401k, he's never paid the IRS. So that is one thing when we're doing an income allocation plan. If someone says to me, well, I want to live on $100,000 a year, I'll ask them, is that gross or net? So you want to make sure you don't make a gross planning mistake where you're looking at your numbers and they're, let's say, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, deferred comps, where you're actually, that money isn't all yours. The IRS has a plan for your dollar just like you do. The one other thing I'll say is that, these are things that you want to get ahead of. Tax mitigation is I can't say enough about it. What do people do every April 15th every year? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. So why not get ahead of this ball of wax? I ask people in class, what is your number one bill going to be in retirement? And they'll say healthcare. And I'll say, no, it's taxes. It really is. You're usually giving back about 20 to 25, maybe even 30%, depending on how much you take out in a year.
Tim, I've seen some of the reports that you do on that proactive tax management. You've shared it with me for kind of food for thought for the program. It's amazing how an average like 65-year-old, the amount of taxes that they will pay on their retirement accounts oftentimes is just about the balance of the retirement account today. Right?
Yep.
Is if you project this out along with growth throughout the years and defaulting to the IRS's plan, cumulatively, what you will pay in taxes might be as much as the balance of the account today, or you can find those proactive strategies, identify how to execute them, and probably pay just a fraction, a third of that amount, maybe over the course of a few years if you are proactive with it. And so you really need to see those reports, ladies and gentlemen. They very much are eye-opening on how much exactly you will be paying in taxes over retirement. And Tim, that's assuming that taxes only go up as much as we already know, right? They could certainly go up more than what is already slated and on the books. A big risk.
I ask, have you looked at the federal deficit? I mean, they're going to need to find money different ways. And one of their best ways that they do is to raise taxes.
Right. Again, Tim, this is one of those predictable things. Right. All along the way, as they were pumping out stimulus money, as they were doing quantitative easing pre-COVID, and then the several rounds of stimulus after COVID, you were saying, yes, this is easing the pain now, but it's going to be pain later. This is going to cause inflation. And then it did. And then when inflation hit, you were saying the Fed's going to raise interest rates, which is going to cause pain in the market, which they did. And it did. And the next step here, $31.5 trillion, is they are going to have to get that money from somewhere. So now really is that golden moment of opportunity to do some proactive tax planning. And I know you deal with a lot of more affluent and high net worth individuals there, TJ Stearns, Tim. There's tax on income, there's tax on assets, and then there's tax on estates. Each one of those has some strategies that you can be proactive in controlling that tax bill, right?
Of course. And, we involved a CPA, we involved an estate attorney. These are all the things that need to come here. So you have a certified financial planner, which is myself. You have a certified public accountant, which is our accountant, Joe. And then we also have our estate attorney, Don. And so we are able to do all these things by making sure that we understand each part of it, looking at the full landscape. I don't think a lot of firms do that. I think a lot of firms might have a financial planner that nowadays is called an advisor, right? Which is interesting to me. It seems like all the stockbrokers that were out there died suddenly, and now everyone's an advisor without maybe doing the classes like I had to take to become a certified financial planning professional. So these are things that we do for people. We don't charge for our time. I like to give back. Knowledge is power, as my dad always said. So we try to help people out, and not kick the can down the street.
So again, if you would like to get that plan put together, be a little bit more proactive, have the trifecta of professionals from the financial, tax, and estate and legal standpoint, looking at your situation, making sure that your plan is optimized, that you've got that protect and grow plan in place. Pick up the phone, give TJ Stearns Inc. and Tim Stearns CFP a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. You can go online, connect with them by hitting the button, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. And Tim, I know you deal with a lot of people who are rightfully so very proud of themselves for being debt-free as they are about to enter into retirement, right? The house is maybe even paid off. The cars are paid off. The kids, the dependents are off the payroll. They don't have any debts. And then you look at the retirement nest egg balance, and it's maybe $2.5 million or what have you, all tax deferred accounts. And you have to say, hold on, wait. Not quite yet so debt-free, because there's actually a debt right here inside of this balance that you're looking at calculating retirement.
Well, yes, and that's where the report comes in. So the report breaks it down in three areas. Number one, what you'll be paying in required minimum distributions. Number two, when you take that money out, a lot of retirees don't actually use the money. They'll put it back into another vehicle. Well, guess what? Now they're paying on the taxes on that again.
Capital gains. Yep.
Exactly. So that's your second route, right? And then the third route would be what your beneficiaries will be paying. And over 10 years, as we all know, on IRAs, even Roths, they have to be drained. Now, there is no taxes on Roths. Okay, let's get that out there. But on IRAs, there's definitely taxes. And over the next 10 years, you have to drain it. So that's something that, people need to be cognizant of. As you talked about a couple shows ago, the transference of wealth that we used to be able to do is not there anymore. It's going to be washed out in 10 years. So these are things that, people need to get ahead of, by doing some planning. And I don't think a lot of people are planning for things like that.
Now, without proper proactive planning, retirement accounts are not generational wealth. The government has essentially ensured and double reconfirmed that through the passage of the Secure Act, is that IRAs, your retirement dollars, are for your retirement only, not to be utilized or leveraged as generational wealth. So if that's part of your goal, you need to make sure that you're planning differently than even just 5 years ago, planning more effectively for today's set of rules. And Tim, that ties into these 5 planning mistakes to avoid. Number 2, I know it's not totally what you were talking about, but a mistake to avoid: taking inappropriate risks. And we've talked about the market risk and market volatility, but a risk is really any variable that is beyond our control that could impact us. And leaving ourselves exposed to this tax risk is probably an inappropriate risk as well.
Right. So there's many different risks in retirement. The ones that we focus in on class are ones that people don't really think about. You have longevity risk. People are living longer and longer. In fact, they're living longer and longer with something maybe 20 years would have killed them. And now they're still alive, thankfully, but then they have maladies from that. Maybe they have to have a caregiver, et cetera. They're using up more money than they had planned on, right? You also have sequence of returns risk, which is simply retiring into a bad market is a bad thing. If you had retired at the end of 2021, last year would have been a tough road. You'd be a little skittish when your portfolio went down about 20%. One of the things that they're talking about is that last year was the worst year for a 60-40 portfolio in the history of the market. 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. Bonds lost 13%. In the best index, the S&P 500 lost 18%. So the 60-40 that used to be able to prop up a portfolio because you had less risk still took its hits. So how do you do that? Well, you have an income allocation plan. You have an area where you're getting guaranteed income coming out, and you don't really have to worry about the stock market doing that.
You have a grip on your retirement. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. That grip in place, not taking an appropriate risk, understanding tax implications, not making the gross planning mistake. All of these are vitally important in your Protect and Grow plan. They will absolutely be included and addressed, ladies and gentlemen. So for the first 10 callers with at least 500,000 saved, get that Protect and Grow plan. No cost, no obligation. Pick up the phone now. Give Tim Stearns, CFP, and TJ Stearns Inc. a call. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Number 4 mistake to avoid, Tim: not caring enough to plan for long-term care. Maybe it's not that we don't care, but it is kind of that unaddressable problem in the minds of so many, and so we just don't address it, right? But there are absolutely some great ways to plan proactively for the potential expenses of care and related to care.
Well, let's take a look at the stats here. 7 out of 10 Americans over the age of 60 will need some sort of long-term care. 9 out of 10 of us haven't addressed it. So yes, it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. A lot of people who are baby boomers are skittish to even think about it because they've seen what happened with their parents, which were very premium heavy payments that were put into a long-term care plan. Maybe the father passed away from a heart attack, never used it, and the mother is still going along just fine.
And yet, Tim, the insurance industry has by and large stopped offering that product, not because they made a bunch of money off of it, because they also didn't like that arrangement and ended up losing a lot of money, right? I mean, they underestimated the cost of care, the number of people who needed it, and the amount of time they would need it for.
Right. So what I always talk about in class is name an insurance that you're happy that you used. If I'm using auto insurance, I got in a car accident. If I'm using my house insurance, something bad happened to my house. Health insurance, I'm sick, right? Yep. So we're looking at the fact that you don't want to have to use this and it's use it or lose it, right? So the things that we're working with, and I personally and my wife owns, are hybrid life insurance policies that have cash value, they have a death benefit, but most importantly, if I cannot do two of my activities of daily living, my wife can pull that money out tax-free and take care of me. And that's, I know that odds are that one of us will need it. And I just did not want to be a, burden on my family. One of the people that mentored both you and I is 58 years old and had 2 strokes and cardiac arrest at 58 years old. He's back home, thankfully, but he's in really bad shape. And, this would have helped him, right? So we need to make sure that people understand, taking risk out of the equation, that's the way to do it. You still should have long-term care addressed.
And by the way, these new linked benefits or hybrids are not use it or lose it. That's, I think, the most attractive thing for both the insurance industry and for us as individuals, is that one way or another, we know our price, we know our benefit, we know that we're going to get something out of paying those costs. So definitely one that's worth revisiting. In fact, it's a critical planning mistake if you avoid addressing this and having this discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Number 5 on the list, Tim, not using Social Security to provide for effective financial security. I heard a really interesting conversation, is that Social Security is never going to keep up with the true cost of living and inflation, because if Social Security is $1,000 and my cost of living is $2,000 a month, even if it goes up just as much as inflation, it still only covers half of the increase in actual costs to my cost of living, Tim.
Right. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but when they do the raises that they give us in cost of living adjustments with Social Security, they base it on the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. What they do, though, is they strip out a lot of things, like the cost of food, the cost of gas, fuel, that type of thing. And they'll say, well, you know what? Inflation wasn't that bad. I will tell you, if you gas up in Chicagoland right now, you're not real happy. And number 2, if you're buying a dozen eggs for $7, you know that inflation's hit there too. So COLA's cost of living adjustments with Social Security they don't add up to a hill of beans, in my opinion. So one of the other things that we always tell people is make sure you do a Social Security optimization report. We do that for our clients all the time when they want it. It shows kind of where the rubber meets the road as to when they could try to get into the pocket of the federal government. Everybody has a different situation. So these are things that, you could do it on the Social Security website. It's a very basic formula, but on ours, it really, we can do a custom one that shows them exactly when the best time is based on when the husband or the wife worked and how many years and that type of thing. And if you haven't done that yet, you could be costing yourself a lot of money. You could be making the wrong choice, and you could hurt your spouse in the process.
So many people just rush out without running that report. It could potentially cost several hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your retirement, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely worth the time. Get that Protect and Grow plan, if for nothing else than to get the optimized Social Security report run for you. But the Protect and Grow plan will address so many other aspects, including the amount of risks that you are taking in the market with your tax situation, the amount of taxes you may be liable for, the cost to your investment and account management, the fees that you are paying, how to maximize Social Security, and then how to put together the rest of the income plan, the order of operations, how to make sure and manage to generate all of the rest of the income that you need. So pick up the phone, give a call, request that Protect and Grow plan. The first 10 callers with at least 500,000, you can get that, no cost, no obligation, with Tim Stearns, CFP at TJ Stearns Inc. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. Tim, I've been in radio now for more than 2 decades, and since I've started in about 1998, I have heard commercials for gold, different entities selling gold all the time. Now, I don't think, regardless of the conversation that we have on our show here, that those commercials are ever going to stop. But what do you make of all of that, especially with the discussion of Silicon Valley Bank and the banking situations that we are seeing? Is gold what it's cracked up to be in those commercials?
I don't believe so. I've had a couple people that are friends of friends talk to me about it, that they went and got gold, and then when they try to unload it, the market's not there. It's easy to purchase, hard to get rid of, is what I was told by them. We don't personally do that here. We have commodity funds and that type of thing, but as far as dabbling in that area, that kind of makes me nervous. And when they're popping up on every corner, that really makes me nervous as well. Them, along with the COVID testing centers, are kind of passe to me.
Yeah. Well, when I think about it, and the tens of millions of dollars that goes to pay for all those ads, where does that money come from? Right. That comes from the transactions, that comes from the spread when you purchase it. And if those that are selling the gold, if they are so convinced that the dollar is going to collapse or devalue, and that gold is going to be the thing that holds value, why in the world would they send me their gold and take my dollars? These are just the questions that I ask myself.
Right. Right. I agree with you. And we don't do that. That and cryptos is not my cup of tea at all. I deal with things that are relative in my mind, things that are solid, and when you're doing retirement planning, you have to work in that area.
Yeah. A lot of people bought gold back in 2008, where subsequently it lost 40% of its value and has just now come back up to about where it was. Not that I think there's anything wrong with gold or silver or precious metals, Tim. I have a little bit, and I hope beyond hope that I never, ever have to use it and pass it along to my son, because if it came time to where I would have to use that, we would be in a worse days kind of scenario, right?
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that one is not on the critical planning mistakes to avoid, just kind of an off the cuff conversation, Tim. But in lieu of everything that we are hearing with the banking systems, I thought it apropos to address that and get your take on it, as well as kind of give my 2 cents. So again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like this list, this report, invoking a lot of thought into some big areas in planning, the 5 planning mistakes to avoid for financial security throughout retirement, pick up the phone and give Tim Stearns, CFP, and TJ Stearns, Inc. a call, 800-640-2256. If you are one of the first 10 callers with at least $500,000 saved for your retirement, you are also entitled to that complimentary, no cost, no obligation, Protect and Grow plan, going over so many aspects in your planning. And Tim will help you put that together, give recommendations, and then show you how to execute on that. No cost, no obligation. Just call 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. You can visit in the office in Arlington Heights. You can conduct those conversations virtually. You can come to the upcoming classes held conveniently all over the Chicagoland area, one close by you coming up, or you can visit online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Just hit the connect with us button there and be in touch with Tim and the planning team there at TJ Stearns. Tim, always a pleasure. You always bring some great information and food for thought education here to the radio airwaves across Chicagoland on the Protect and Grow radio program. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Securities offered through TJ Stearns, a registered representative of Crown Capital Securities LP, member FINRA SIPC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.